Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to Marcus Harris for coming along whilst we're here in quarantine on the Gold Coast. As always, guys, keep your cameras off and your microphones on mute until such time as you have a question. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll come to everyone in order of their hands raised. So, if anyone has a question, we'll get underway straight away. We'll go to 7 News Sydney. Assume that is Andrew McKinley.
Thanks, Cole. Marcus, let's start with the elephant in the room. Are you aware of any rift between the playing group and Cricket Australia over Tim Paine?
No. We're obviously up here in quarantine in Queensland, so been seeing some of that stuff play out in the media a little bit, but no, nothing that I'm aware of.
Have you discussed Tim's status and his possible role in the team in team meetings or anything like that?
No, we had a training session yesterday, and it all went really well. Obviously, Paine's playing a Sec 11 game down in Hobart, but no, we haven't discussed anything along those lines. I think they've announced the squad for the first 2 tests, and I think he's presumably going to be here in the next week or so.
Do you think he's good enough to keep his spot in the team as a keeper batsman?
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a really good job, in the last few years under tough circumstances. And I think you'd probably still argue that he's still the best gloveman in the country. And he still played really few important innings last summer against India. So I know he's got the support of all the players. And yeah, like I said, I think all that other stuff's up to people above me.
Thanks, Marcus.
Nick Savage.
Thanks, Cole. G'day, Marcus. Congratulations on your selection in the
Thanks, mate.
squad. Obviously, in Paine, you didn't have the best. You didn't have the best series against England. Struggled a little bit with the right-handers coming around the wicket. Is that something you think you've resolved, especially with the likes of Stuart Broad and James Anderson bowling at you this summer?
Yeah, it was obviously a tough first test series over in England for myself. It wasn't an easy series for anyone to open in that summer, but obviously I've had plenty of time since then to try and work on a few things. I had the opportunity to go over and play in England again this year, so that was really beneficial. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, it's been a ploy that a lot of teams have employed against me now to come around the wicket. And I feel like I've worked really hard on, technical side of my game and tactical to try and combat that. So, don't know, the proof will be in the pudding come December the 8th. But yeah, it feels like I've worked really hard on it. It's sort of going well.
Luke Duffy.
And one more quick one for me, if possible. Oh, sorry, Cole. Just very quickly, what do you think you learnt mostly from that time over in England in the winter? Obviously, you scored a lot of runs. What was the main thing you sort of took from that time overseas?
Oh, I think I really enjoyed being over. I was at a smaller county in Leicester, but to come over as the overseas pro, there's obviously a bit of pressure with that. So to sort of play well, having that sort of on my back was really good. And then, to play in English conditions, I've played club cricket there, but club cricket's obviously very different to first class cricket. So just found a different way to play the game a little bit, tactically a little bit differently, technically a little bit differently. And I think it'll just hold me in good stead going forward, having played in different conditions all around the world throughout the year and against different bowling was a good challenge. And I know it was good personally to get back over there after, like I spoke about the Ashes last time, having a tough series to get over there and make some runs was good for my confidence.
Luke Duffy.
Thanks, Cole. Hi, Marcus. Just quickly back to Tim for a second. Can you just tell us what the initial reaction was like amongst the group when that sort of announcement came out, and how destabilising can it be before the biggest series in Test cricket?
Oh, people were obviously a bit shocked, but sorry, something popped up on my screen. People were a bit shocked, but we've got a lot of good leaders around our group, so it's not ideal, but there's someone that's going to have to step up and lead from the front, which there's plenty of people that can do that job. So like I said before, Paine will still be around and can still show leadership in many different ways. But like I said, we're looking forward to getting into camp and getting on with it.
Russell Gould.
Thanks, Cole. G'day, Harry. congrats, mate, on making the squad. Just wondering, George Bailey said a couple of times he's pretty keen on giving you a really good chance to have an extended go at opening. I'm just wondering when you first had that conversation, what that meant to you, given obviously we know you've made a power runs for the Vicks and had your chances at Test cricket, but for Bales, I don't know when he said that to you, or if he said that to you, but what it meant to you.
Hey, Russ. Yeah, I probably spoke to Bales. I think it was about a week before we went away to Sydney for the first Shield game and just had a really good conversation with him. He obviously had to let us Victorian guys know that we're coming up here for quarantine pretty early so we could organise stuff. So I had a good chat with him then, and it was just good to have some clear communication with his selector about, you know, what I was doing and what was in their mind and what was in their thinking for me. I think it's good for your confidence as a player to sort of know where you stand, and having the backing of people is really good. So that was really good to have that from Bales. And yeah, like I said, it puts your mind at ease a little bit. Your mind can run. Obviously, coming into a big series like the Ashes with the amount of attention that's brought to it. So to not have to worry about that for probably a month leading into the first game, it's been pretty good.
With that in mind, I mean, do you feel, and all the work you've done and the runs you made in England during the winter, do you feel better placed or as well placed to really take advantage of the chance now? Prior to the, you know, your last couple of opportunities, you feel better now to really take advantage of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I had a good off season, but I think probably my last 5 or 6 Shield seasons have been really good. So, and being consistent. So that's the challenge as an opening batsman, is you're going to have games where you don't do well, but being consistent, and then obviously having those games where you make big hundreds as well. So that gives me good confidence over my body of work that I've had over the last few years, to sort of know that if I have that opportunity in Test cricket, I feel like I can do that. So that's good. Obviously, when I speak to Bales and, you know, he reinforces that, that's really good, and, you know, obviously makes you feel good.
Good on you, Harry. Good luck, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Louis Cameron.
Hey, Marcus, it was interesting reading something Trent Copeland said about when you first started, you might have been quite offside dominant, maybe even to your detriment a little bit. Do you feel like that's something you've worked on maybe at Leicestershire or last few Shield seasons?
Yeah, I think as a young bloke and probably being a bit of a dasher early in my career, it probably was a bit to my detriment. I used to struggle a lot getting through the 20s, and I think my initial idea of trying to get through the 20s was to dash as quickly as I could. But I think as I've got a bit older and more experienced, I think I just let the game come to me a little bit more, and I think I let the bowlers come to me a bit more. And I think that probably comes back to just having a hunger for making a lot of runs and making big runs. So, and having patience. And in the first Shield game, I think I faced 360 balls. So I think it's probably what it comes back to, is coming back to not being satisfied with making 50 or 100 and trying to make big runs. So, and like that's what, through the off season, I had some really good innings where I made some big hundreds. The last couple of years, made a couple of 200s. So that's probably what it comes back to, having, you know, a bit of self-motivation and drive to do really well and lead from the front for your team.
And just, I guess, on David Warner, who you might be opening up with, have you had some conversations with him about, you know, how the two of you are going to operate this summer?
Yeah, we had a really good centre wicket yesterday out at Metricon. So that was good against all the boys, which was a good challenge, but just spoke about what he was thinking about doing and some tactical stuff. Obviously, Dave is a great player, so any advice I can take from him, well and truly will. So just looking forward to getting out there. And also we've got probably a couple more weeks of training, but we've got some good facilities up here. So we have some good match practice and should be ready to go.
Andrew McGlashan.
Hey, Marcus, just on batting with Davey, I know it's only been a handful of Test matches so far and he wasn't fully fit at the Gabba last season, but do you feel as though he's the sort of player you'll be able to gel with in the same way you've sort of gelled with Will at Victoria? Do you think there's the makings of a good partnership there?
Yeah, I think so. Davey brings a lot of energy to the crease and to the partnership, and he obviously for a long period of time he's dominated world cricket, so he takes a lot of pressure off. You don't feel any pressure to score. I know we had a tough series over in England, but I think the second innings against India, I think we put on 80 or 90. which was really good. So yeah, he's a world-class player, and anytime you can play with another bloke that takes a lot of pressure off you, it makes your job a bit easier. So like I said, hopefully we can forge something pretty good over the next, we'll get through this summer first, but over the next period of time.
And just a quick one. There's obviously a bit of weather around up in Brisbane at the moment. I know you guys are on the Gold Coast at the moment, but if your preparations were impacted by the weather, do you feel the volume of cricket you've had over the last 6 to 8 months will stand you in good stead heading into the Test match if you don't perhaps get too many popper hits in the next week or so?
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that someone said that Jimmy Anderson brought the rain with him, and he's definitely done that. So yeah, I know last year, probably this time last year, with the way COVID was, I'd only played a couple of Shield games, then I was in the Test squad and hadn't played much going into that last Test. So I knew when the opportunity came up to get over to play county cricket in this off-season, I knew I would take it just so I had plenty of cricket under my belt. So, it's been tough for us guys from Victoria and New South Wales to get the amount of cricket in, but having played a full winter of county cricket and then the few Shield games we've had now, I've definitely played plenty of cricket, so I'll be ready to go.
Thanks, Marcus.
Rob Forsyth.
Hey, Marcus. You mentioned a bit earlier about being keen to sort of get into camp and get onto it in terms of Tim's situation. He obviously spoke last Friday. I was just wondering, has he had a chance to address the group via Zoom or anything like that, or failing that, has sort of Justin spoken with the group in Queensland, and if so, what did he say?
Nothing direct, but I think probably everyone's spoken to him personally. I sent him a message the other day and spoke to him a little bit. Obviously, Paine is a very popular member of the group, and he was the skipper as well. So, like I said, we're looking forward to him getting up here in the next week or so, and I think getting on with cricket. I think, when you have things going on, sometimes the best thing to do is actually be out in the middle and playing cricket and taking your mind off things. So, hopefully in the next week or so, we can get on with it.
Yeah, and just one more on your opening partner. He obviously had a tough stretch running into that World Cup, but even dating back to last summer with that injury, how, like, in terms of your memories of that Gabba Test as opposed to that recent centre wicket, how different does he look?
Oh, I don't know if you know Davey too well, but not much phases him, so you wouldn't really know if he hadn't made any runs or if he'd made 100. He's generally pretty energetic. He looked good out in the middle. Obviously had a really good World Cup. I'm not sure he was really out of form too much, but a bit of a beat up. But yeah, he looks really good. He looks raring to go. So I think, like we saw, I think it was a couple summers ago, he had a really good summer coming off some good one-day cricket and T20 cricket. So I think we're expecting the same again.
Thanks, man.
Nell Farrell.
Thanks. Hey, Marcus. Just talking about that, the tactic of the right-handers coming around the wicket. Can you sort of give us an idea of how much you think that is different in Australia as opposed to when you're facing the likes of Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, if they employ that tactic in England with the Duke's ball?
Hey, Mel. Yeah, I think probably in England, the length that they can bowl is a bit different to in Australia. They can probably bowl a little bit shorter and still hit the top of the stumps in England, which obviously brings in LBW and bolds and all sorts of stuff. So that's what the challenge was over there. And the Duke ball that summer was moving around a lot. So they're going to have to bowl a different length in Australia. And the wickets are obviously probably more, you would say, batter friendly in Australia. So can sometimes be, I wouldn't say easier, but a bit better to line them up, especially as a left-hander around the wicket. So there's still going to be a challenge for us because at the Gabba, the ball moves a fair bit and bounces a lot. So, but I think they're probably going to have to bowl a bit fuller. So whether or not that brings us into the game a bit more, I'm not sure. But there's things that we work on. I've probably been working on it for ever since that Ashes series, trying to combat it. So, like I said, it's going to be a great challenge. They've got a really good bowling attack, and obviously led by Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson. So it's going to be a good challenge. But yeah, they're going to have to bowl a few different lengths in Australia compared to England. So that'll be interesting to see.
And just you spoke about the leaders in the group. Are there any of your teammates who have kind of stepped up already to pull the group together, and how have they done that?
I think we're lucky with having a pretty senior group. There's not many really young blokes around, so everyone sort of leads from the front. There's obvious people that people speak about in the media. But yeah, there's a lot of good leaders in this group. So that the captaincy stuff will look after itself in the next, I'm not sure when they'll decide that, but that'll sort itself out. But I think we're pretty fortunate at the moment. We have a very senior bowling group. And we have some great senior batsmen around. So I think that stuff will be fine.
Thanks, Marcus.
Andrew Wu.
Yeah, g'day, Marcus. Just want to ask you about, I suppose, the scenario around Tim and just how you guys found out. You spoke about how earlier on there was a bit of shock within the group. I mean, how long did it take for you personally to, I suppose, come to terms with the news and the idea that he won't be captain and that you'll have a new captain? And do you think within the group that the group has sort of come to terms with that fact as well?
Oh, well, it didn't take long. We found out probably half an hour before you guys found. I'm sure you guys probably knew before us, but we found it half an hour before you guys. So there wasn't much time to probably digest it. But yeah, it was a shock. But Tim's obviously been a great leader around the group. He's always been really good to me and my family. So, our hearts went out for Tim and Bonnie and the kids and his family. And then, yeah, there's obviously CA are going to have to work out who leads now. But I think knowing Paine and knowing his character, he's a pretty strong and resilient bloke. So if anyone can get through it, I'm backing Paine to be able to get through that.
Looking forward to seeing him and give him a hug when he walks into the camp.
Yeah, as long as it's COVID safe, I'll give him a hug.
Scott Bailey.
Yeah, Marcus, I was just wondering, I can't think of an instance where it would have happened in Australia, but when you've been playing in England, if you've been captained by a quick before, obviously Pat, we all think is the favourite for the job, but have you been captained by a quick or a bowler before even, and how they've handled it and how you've found them captaining?
Yeah, I reckon when I was in England this year, we had to have a young spinner, actually, Callum Parkinson, Matt Parkinson's brother, captain a couple of games. Which is really good. And Paddy obviously captained New South Wales in one-day games last year and went really well. So I'm not sure that's going to be a bit of an issue for him. I think going forward and in the future, I can see guys being able to do it as bowlers. Paddy obviously plays all formats, plays a lot of cricket, a very smart bloke. And like I said before, there's a lot of senior guys still in the team. So if people need to help him with stuff, there'll be people there to do that. But yeah, I can definitely see bowlers doing in the future. I haven't played under too many bowlers that are captains, to be honest, but probably Scott Boland in a practice game for Victoria, but that's about it.
Do you think any bowlers could do it, or is it just like is there just certain guys with capabilities and leadership qualities who could do it? And does Pat fit into that from what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely some bowlers that couldn't do it. But in the same breath, there's some batters that couldn't do it either. Yeah, Paddy's obviously got great leadership qualities. He's the vice captain at the moment, so he leads from the front, and he's a very respected figure. So, yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Hi, Marcus. Can you hear me?
Yes, mate.
All right, sweet. England not getting much of a hit out this week. How much of a hindrance is that to their preparation? Have you ever had a lead into a test series and not got enough of a hit? Is it a hindrance, or could that not really make much of a difference?
Probably it wouldn't be ideal for them, but I know they've been in the same situation as us, having been up here in quarantine, and the facilities we've had at Metricon that have been available to us and them have been really good. So they would have had plenty of cricket, and they've come off a big summer. They've played a lot of test cricket this year, probably compared to us. And then their guys that hadn't played test cricket would have played a lot of county cricket. So it wouldn't be ideal for them, but there's still, 2 weeks till the first test. So they have plenty of opportunity. You can't really control the weather. I think sometimes that things that can't control is not worth worrying about. So I'm sure they'll be fine.
And just on, Usman Khawaja and Travis Head's games fairly well. They're obviously in a bit of a fight for that middle order spot. Who's your pick?
Oh, I'm not sure I have one. I don't really like that. I know I've been in that situation plenty of times, and it's not, it's part and parcel of professional cricket, but both of them are great players. I think both have great qualities. Uz has had a great year, probably a great 2 years, and so is Heady. Heady's been a very consistent performer. He's got a good record. So I think whoever they pick will be a good selection.
Couple more here, guys, and we'll wrap up. Duncan Huntsdale.
Thanks very much, Cole. Marcus, you spoke earlier about what a popular player Tim Paine is within the group. Is the playing group frustrated, or perhaps does the playing group believe he should still be captain?
Like I said, Paine's a very popular player, but the stuff when it comes to stuff with board level and stuff like that, I know personally I stay well clear of that stuff. So I haven't really spoken to anyone about it. Obviously, like I said before, it was a shock that he's not going to be the captain for the series, but there's things that are out of our control and that are above us that go on. So we'll leave that to them for them to sort out.
Thanks, Marcus.
Last one, guys. Jack Dobson.
Hi, Marcus. The Australian Test side probably has not been as successful in recent years, coming off the most recent loss to India. Have you, as a squad, done much reflection on that series, and does it add to the importance of trying to win the Ashes this series?
Yeah, well, we obviously didn't go as well as what we wanted to last summer, but I think previous to that, we had a really good home summer and then retained the Ashes over to England. So you could argue it was probably a bit of a speed hump, and then we haven't had the chance we haven't played for the last nearly 12 months. So just with schedules and COVID and all sorts of stuff. But I think going forward, we know what we need to do. You probably don't need too much motivation for an Ashes series, especially in Australia, being what it is. So we're looking forward to getting out there, hopefully carrying on some momentum from the boys winning the World Cup. I think the team's shown great character in the last few months, going through what's happened and what we've been through. So we're just looking forward to getting out there and getting on with it, and let our cricket do the talking.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks, guys. And again, thanks to Marcus Harris for joining us this morning. We'll wrap it up there, guys, and catch up with you all next time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marcus.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, Cole.